Hey, welcome to the PSA movie review of the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, the new Star Wars movie that came out recently. And if you know movies review on YouTube, I don't think I need to tell you this, but I'll tell you anyway because why not? Spoilers ahead, watch the movie yourself. This is my opinion, the best opinion. Anyway, let's get on to the review itself. So, first things first, as a person that likes the Mandalorian TV show, it just felt like a longer episode of The Mandalorian. That's kind of it, but it is pretty good, in terms of like production. It's Mandalorian quality, essentially, just in theaters, which is something I really did like. Just the theater was pretty much packed, which is something I haven't seen in a long time, so I'm really happy about that. Kind of gave me a lot of nostalgia seeing other movies with a packed theater. But anyway, so how is the actual like movie itself? I'll start with the sound or music. It's Mandalorian, so it's more or less just that music, just a bit extended, a bit more techno sounding music in different parts when we're on a different planet. And kind of, I forgot what the Now Hutta music was, but it's also pretty good. It's just not like orchestra, trumpets, violins, massive John Williams theme. I forgot if John Williams did it, but I'll have to look that up later, because I'm not editing this video because I'm bored. Anyway, in terms of like, camera quality and like other kind of stuff, yeah, it's well edited, well documented, not documented, well filmed in terms of like camera quality and other such, movements of the camera. Very nice in terms of, how they shot Grogu, how they shot Din Djarin and Mando. I'm just gonna call him Mando. And very well in terms of like other like shots. You would see like certain action scenes at the end, at the beginning. It just felt like a, different kind of Star Wars movie. And, that has to be a sacrifice I mentally have to do in order to make, actually good Star Wars movies again, then I'm willing to have that. Alright, can't think of anything else, so here's story. So, the story itself is a bit hard to follow if you haven't watched the TV shows. The Mandalorian obviously is the TV show that it's mainly inspired by, but also there's a bit of the Book of Boba Fett in there. And I want to say a little bit of Ahsoka, but it's kind of iffy on if it's actually there. I completely forgot, but I personally think it's a bit there. So let's get on with it. So in the beginning, we just see Mando hunting some Imperial, and that's kind of it. We're just hunting Imperial for like the first half of the movie, and then for the second half, we're dealing with the Hutts and a bit more of Grogu. So again, the story itself is a bit hard to follow if you haven't watched The Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett. It's kind of sad, but if this is a sacrifice I have to do in order to get more, good Star Wars movies, I think I'm willing to take that. But we also get other characters from other shows that, I kind of felt a bit nostalgic about, which might be something that they're going with again. Not sure how I feel about that all the way. We did see Rod of the Hutt, which we haven't seen him in. I forgot. Like, we haven't seen him since his major role during, like, that hour-long special when they introduced Ahsoka. We haven't seen him in a long time, which is really nice to see him again. The son of Jabba, if anyone forgot or doesn't care. Yeah, he's a son of Jabba the Hutt, and he's a buff Hutt. Nothing more to say. He's just very physically strong, which I kind of, in terms of lore and like kind of felt like a callback to that one Hutt Jedi in Legends, I want to say. Which, forgot that guy's name, but he was pretty cool. It's really interesting to see that. And another thing is, we gotta see my boy Zeb on the big screen before Ahsoka, Rex, Maul. I guess we saw Maul, but not my Maul. But anyway, yeah, Zeb was in it for like the first half of the movie. Then he left. I kind of thought he would die. I don't know how to feel about it if he would have died. I don't know how to feel about all that stuff, but kind of did wish that they would have killed off a character, not one main two in the name, but kind of like a character that would like kind of make it more impactful. If like a good guy had to die, like maybe Rada or Zeb would have died, it would have been a bit, you know, more impactful emotionally for the audience to, say, oh my gosh, this character I knew throughout all my childhood is now dead. Oh no. But, they didn't go that route because I think they're going to do something with Ezra during the Ashoka show with Zeb. Really hope those two meet up, man. I want that. But anyway, and then we get the and then another interesting character that I saw was I want to say that lady that committed hyperspace suicide during The Last Jedi. I don't know if that's actually the lady because I'm not going to rewatch The Last Jedi for obvious reasons, that being the worst Star Wars movie of all time. Fight, I don't, no one will fight me on that. But yeah, it is essentially just, it was nice to see her actually, competent in this before whatever happened in between the films. But yeah, it was nice to see her. I liked her more in this than The Last Jedi. She was pretty chill. Gave Mando the second Razor Crest, I guess. But it's pretty nice to see how she just kind of, I guess it's not really, she's more of a plot point, but what character isn't a plot point in any show or movie? But yeah, she just kind of pushed the plot along in order to kind of, you know, all that jazz. And then we get to see now Hutta and like that one hat wearing guy. Now Hutta was pretty nice to see. We haven't seen it since the Clone Wars again, but it was nice to see that planet again. And we did get to see the twins. The twins were a little interesting. They took Mando's helmet off. They saw Mando's helmet. They got eaten by a giant snake. That guy is probably dead too, but oh well. And it just kind of does feel like a little wasted potential personally, but you know, I didn't really care much about those guys even in the Book of Boba Fett, so it doesn't really matter to me. But anyway, what else? I guess I should talk about Mando and Grogu now. Those two are pretty important in the main story. They push the plot along, you know. They got this Razor Crest back. We got to see how they were, we got to see more funny moments from Grogu, which is always really funny. I mean, he's just a little kid. I think no one hates Grogu, man. He's just a baby. But yeah, Mando was pretty chill throughout most of it, just being the badass dad that he was, just kicking ass all day. And next thing you know, he just kind of keeps moving forward. He gets kidnapped and then poisoned during like a plot with that weird hat wearing bounty hunter. I know he's from the shows, I think Clone Wars, but I forgot his name. I'll look it up after this. I'm not saying this. Why am I saying that? Anyway, um, overall, yeah, those two had a pretty sweet thing. I like how um Grogu just had like a kind of we kind of saw him growing up or kind of understanding how he's going to live a lot longer than Mandalorian will. And, it's kind of like an emotional thing in order for him to understand. You know, we just saw a lot of the Grogu's personality throughout the entire movie. He's just a little kid. He acts childish. If you hate that, then you suck. But yeah, then he's just childish. He's is honestly a little funny. I really liked the scenes that he was in. His appetite's gonna. I don't know if you're looking at diabetes, but if his species can, that kid is gonna get it. And yeah, it's nice to see him kind of coming to terms with the fact that Mando might die one day. That was interesting to see. And essentially, yeah, that's kind of that. We did see a bit more of him, like, kind of stepping up, creating like a mini Yoda hut during like one scene when he, the dad was poisoned. And we did see more about those two, how they survived. They're just really fun. I really hope they come back a bit more. But anyway, Rada the Hutt is interesting, kind of proving that, he's the son of Jabba the Hutt, that guy that, I mean, like, we all know what Jabba is, right? Like, a vile person, even if you haven't read the comics, which you should. Some of the comics kind of not empathize, kind of make it more obvious about how evil, you know, essentially someone of the Hut cartel is. I mean, it's a cartel, it's in the name. But yeah, it's a bit more, villainous, but it's not what Rada is. Rada proves that he's not that. He tries to make a name for himself in the first half of the movie. He does, and then that name gets thrown away when, like, that one Imperial guy says, just kill them both. And then that kill them both thing happens, and then he realizes, hey, crap. And then he tries to run away, and then gets captured, and then helps him. And then he ends up joining the New Republic during, like, the final part of the movie. And yeah, it's just a bit more interesting on that end, I do hope we get to see more characterization of him since, he's originally from the Clone Wars. He's seen a lot of stuff when you think about it. He's lived through two major, space conflicts. I guess everyone has in this universe, but, more than we have, I think. Anyway, yeah, that's kind of most of the story is just Mando and Grogu kind of interacting with all these people. It's just an episode of The Mandalorian. Just watch one of those and then watch the movie and you kind of understand what I'm saying. And I do like it. I do like, the stuff that they interact with and everything. It's just, if you didn't watch the show, it might be a bit more difficult to understand it, the movie itself. Which, is something I don't want too much. Because, like, if I'm pretty sure they're making a Ahsoka movie, and if they just make the Ahsoka movie and introduce, like, oh, hey, yeah, Sabine and Ahsoka are in a different galaxy, and, like, the opening text, that would be kind of difficult in order, and with all the context of the stuff that you haven't seen in the show itself, which is, kind of sad that we have to be in that, but, it is a bit disappointing either way. But yeah, overall, it's not like the original trilogy or prequel trilogy level, but I do think it's somewhere in Rogue One in terms of like level of a movie. It's a good movie. I happen to like it. It's much better than some of the other movies that we've gotten, the sequel trilogy. But yeah, overall, I like it a lot. And, you know, I think it would be a bit easier if we get just, you know, I think you understand what I'm trying to say here. But anyway, that's my Mandalorian review. Go watch it. It's pretty good. And yeah, um, goodbye.